What's going on, guys? Your boy Ghost here, and today we got another TWAB. But I'm gonna let y'all know off rip, this is a thick boy. This TWAB is extremely long. You see how fast I'm scrolling through all of this. Of course, the bottom part don't really matter that much, but this one does. If you guys don't know, I'm starting from the bottom because this is really important. I gotta let you guys know this. From February 13th, to the 27th of February, every DLC, I tweeted about it, every DLC is on sale for like $40. You can get every DLC in Destiny for $40 on Humble Bundle. So if you guys don't have it, get it now. I'm putting this in the beginning because I know a lot of people don't watch all the way through the end of the video. So it's really important for you to know. Okay, to the top. All right. Like I said, we're going to be skimming through this. Everything that I deem important, I will read. If I don't, I'm sorry. If you guys want the rest of the TWAB, go find it. I'll put it in the description. If I remember, I always say I'll put it in the description and then I forget. But if you want to read it, read it. This is going to be skimming me through it. I'm just going to be skimming through it, okay? Let's go. First, Threat Inspector. I've heard this thing has been incredibly annoying in PvP. Threat Inspector is currently overperforming in high-level PvP activities, particularly in Trials of Osiris. We believe that there are two core issues that could drive this overperformance, so let's talk about each separately. First, uptime on Threat Inspector is significantly higher than we think it's healthy, particularly the fast cooldown of a Hunter dodge combined with 2 threatening grenade charges granted by Wisdom of Silk. A Widow Silk. For update 7.3.5, we're implementing a change that applies the same class ability generation penalty that the Snaring Slam uses for when the player creates a Threat Inspector. We don't want this change to have a significant negative impact on Threat Inspector's performance in PvE, so we're reducing the duration of the regeneration penalty by 50% when in PvE activities, which will also apply to Snaring Slam increase uptime in PvE. Okay. In addition, we're increasing the Threat Inspector detonation damage versus PvE combatants by 25%, with the goal that while you may be able to create fewer shadow clones overall, each one will be more impactful to compensate. Okay. The other half of Threat Inspector's PvP potency comes from throttling themselves, like Axion Bolt projectiles prior to 4.0.1. We believe throttling are currently too difficult to clear off the battlefield. To address this, we're implementing a change to make them easier to shoot and reduce instances where you feel like your bullet went straight through the throttling without detonating. In addition to that potency, as a distraction tool, throttling deal enough chip damage, to players to significantly damage the outcome of an engagement. So we're slightly reducing their damage versus players, both base and with Threat of Evolution equipped. Finally, we've identified a bug where groups of throttlings would not chain detonating as intended when one is destroyed. We realize these changes are not localized to Threatrunner and will also affect Brewweaver's potency in the Crucible as well. To compensate for this, we're pulling some other buffs forward. We originally planned to ship with the funnel shape to keep the power of the overall kit in roughly the same place. With 7.3.5, we'll be increasing the Arcane Needle's aim assist and tracking strength, making it significantly more consistent against mid to close range, mid-range, or fast-moving targets. Great. Restoration and Radiant. This is good. Bro, please tell me they fixed the freaking Fire Sprite issue. On update 7.3.5, we'll also be bringing an update to the Restoration and Radiant keywords, which currently have a number of buggy interactions with their timer extensions. More notably, Ember of Empyrean Fragment, thank you, and in combination with Ember of Mercy. Yes, we've rebuilt a significant portion of these keyword buffs to store the time data more safely. Nice. Restoration and Radiant. Fixed an issue where the maximum duration of Restoration and Radiant buffs were being incorrectly stored, resulting in their buff timers resetting to an initial duration instead of their maximum when the buff was reapplied. Thank you. This is going to be great for you solo players who play solo on like solo dungeons, solo raids, whatever you want to do. Because if you guys didn't know, a while ago, for the past, I think since Solo 3.0 has been out, if you had on Ember of Empyrean and Mercy, if you picked up a Fire Sprite, it would set your timer from 15 seconds to 3. So I'm glad that's getting changed, finally. Alongside these changes, we've adjusted the both Ember of Empyrean and Ember of Mercy fragments. Left unchanged with dramatically increased consistently resulting from this bug fix, these two fragments, particularly paired together, would vastly exceed our power bar. We believe that even with these changes, the experience of using each of these fragments, whether alone or paired, should be equivalent or better than the experience now. Okay. Ember of Mercy now extends your current restoration duration by 2 seconds when Fire Sprite is collected. If you don't already have restoration active, collecting a Fire Sprite grants restoration for 2 seconds. Okay. The restoration extension is increased by 3 seconds while Ember of Solace is equipped. Got it. Increase the maximum duration from 12 to 15 seconds. Rework the duration extension granted with each solar defeat. Previously always granted 4 seconds duration extension. so it extended by 4 seconds, regardless of the type of target defeated. Now the duration extension varies based on strength of the defeated target. Defeating an elite or weaker combatant will result in less time added than the end game currently, but defeating champions or stronger combatants result in greater extension. Okay. Consecration, great. Increase the travel distance of initial ground follow, a projectile that travels along the surface like a thermite grenade wave or a cold snap grenade seeker from 18 to 20 meters. Increase the height of the slam ground follow detonation by 1 meter, so you can go a bit higher. Increase the travel distance of the slam ground follow from 16 to 20 meters. Good. Increase the travel speed of the slam ground follow, including the Power Girl Gauntlet's enhanced version, from 16 to 24 meters per second. We're improving the consistency of consecration, making it better to be able to catch floating targets and enemies that jump too late. We're also increasing the travel distance of both Scorch Wave and the Ignition Wave, and further increasing the Ignition Wave's travel speed, both with and without Power Girl Gauntlets equipped. We've also heard some consistent feedback about Gunpowder Gamble self-damage, resulting in untimely misadventures, so we're reducing it to make the gamble slightly less risky. Does a maximum of 80 damage. That's it for us this time. Watch for 7.3.5, which goes live on March 5th. Sandbox changes. All right. Weapon archetypes. We're going to read this full thing. Weapon archetypes. When we created the new heavy burst hand cannon subfamily for Warden's Law, we inadvertently included some content that made them hard to control while playing with the mouse and keyboard. Not surprising. Heavy burst hand cannons corrected an issue that was causing heavy burst hand cannons to have 25% less aim assist than other hand cannons when hip firing or airborne on mouse and keyboard. Okay. Bows continue to be hard for some players to counter in PvP. They've also been strong, but we've recently made them easier to use by making their projectile fully hit scan at longer distances, which makes them much more reliable at range. We are keeping that change, but we're adjusting some of the aim assist data to require more skill to use them at extended ranges. Great. Too bad people are using bows not normally. I'm intrigued because I want to know, is this actually going to be a bigger difference? Or is it like, okay, it's a difference, but you're only going to see the difference on like Widow's Court, Eternity, like the big maps. We should breakneck with one fewer perk than intended in the right column. Oops. So we're going to fix that. Added a missing 12th perk, target lock to breaking the second column trait. Got it. Lightweight scout rifles are always have it following, but they've suffered from being unforgiving with missing crits. We're making a change that reduces the proportion of crits required for the optimal TTK from 4 crits to 3 crits in one body. Ooh! This might be kinda good. Despite being less popular from some stressful weapons in PvP, sniper rifles are disproportionately oppressive to play against, particularly in 3v3 modes. We are making them slightly harder to use by nerfing the aim assist. Oh man, snipers just can't catch a break. Reduce the auto aim cone by 10%. Okay. The rocket launcher meta has become more set than we like, with adaptive and aggressive subfamilies outperforming the rest. We're making changes to the precision and high impact subfamilies that give them more reserve ammo than others, as well as making their adjustments to give them unique strengths. Rocket launcher precision ammo type. The precision type of rocket launchers increase the reserve by 2 and reduce the damage penalty from 10% to 5%. Okay. High impact, increased reserve ammo by 2, now deals more detonation damage and less impact damage for roughly the same total damage. This should make them more effective versus groups and when getting splash damage on targets that near miss. Okay. Ooh, these above changes also affect Deathbringer, Gallonhorn, and Truth. Dog, Truth hasn't been used. I don't even think Truth was ever good in D2, which is sad. Y'all remember how annoyingly OP Truth was in D1? You used to be able to shoot somebody from across the map. They could run around the entire map, dip and dodge, and the rocket would still hit them. That's how good the tracking was. Now it's trash. A fall from grace, that is. We've touched heavy grenade launchers a few times, and while they're fairly strong mathematically, it hasn't moved the needle. It's time to make some substantial changes. We're pushing them into sustained damage and ad clear. Ooh. And we're also tweaking spike grenades to make them less of a dominant pick. Still probably not going to happen though. Note that changes are not a nerf to overall grenade launch damage output, as we've increased the impact detonation damage to compensate and dramatically increase the reserve ammunition. Heavy grenade launchers increase reserve ammo by a minimum of 6 rounds, maximum of 10 rounds, depending on the grenade launcher. Reduce spike grenades damage impact from 50% to 12.5. With the below changes, this reduces the total spike grenade damage from about 8% was 3. Okay, so it went from an 8% damage increase to 3% damage increase, making it less mandatory. But people are still going to go for it because more damage is good. Oh, increased direct hit impact damage by 10%. Combined with the above changes, this brings non-spike grenade launchers almost up to the level of spike grenade launchers and a very slightly reduced the damage output with spike grenade launchers. So it's not, so before it was like, this don't got spike grenades on it, I don't really want to use it. This is like, well, spike grenades isn't as strong, so I still might use it, but for me personally, it's either a 5 out of 5 gotta roll or bust. So if it's not spike grenades, whatever the second column perk is, Envious Assassin, bait and switch. I'm not using it. Anyway, wave frame grenade launchers. Oh man, wait, hold on, this is a buff. Wave frame grenade launchers have struggled to find an identity with not enough ammo to really work. Oh, heavy, wave. Okay, never mind. I got excited. I was like, hold on, they buffing forbearance? Heavy wave frame grenade launchers. My bad. Heavy wave frame grenade launchers have struggled to find an identity with not enough ammo to really work for ad clear as addressed above, and not as much single target damage as standard grenade launchers. With these changes, they will be more able to compete with other grenade launchers and become easier to land. So increase damage of 20% and increase the wave width by 40%. I think the only wave frame grenade launcher is the one heavy grenade launcher I'm saying is the one from Lightfall, right? The stasis one? I still don't think people are going to use it. Why would I use a heavy grenade launcher over forbearance? Tell me, make it make sense. I don't even think a heavy version, if they reburst the perk pool of that grenade launcher, I can't even remember what it's called right now. If they redo the perk pool and give it overflow chain reaction, I still don't think people would use it. But we'll see. Caster swords are the only sword that have a ranged attack. For now. Hold on, wait a minute. And the trade-off for maintaining distance was damage. This reduction was more extreme than it needed to be, so we've bought the heavy attack damage up to approach other swords, while also reducing the heavy attack energy cost to grant higher uptime. Exotics. Vigilance Wings is strong in PvP already, but it's fairly hard to control with how much that 5-round burst kicks, so we've made it easier to compensate for. Got it. Vex Mythoclast fires like a high impact auto rifle. Other high impact auto rifles have a larger ADS damage fall off scaler, so we've increased Mythos to match. Oh, I think that's a nerf. Can't tell. Wishender's true sight is a big part of the exotic's identity, so we wanted to retain that, but in its current form, it's far too useful in PvP, with Oathkeeper's exotic gauntlets equipped. Wishender's true sight will now deactivate if you leave ADS for longer than 3 seconds. To reactivate, you must fully redraw the bow. The Edge of Actions bubble isn't intended to compete directly with Ward of Dawn, and with the glaive changes in the list, we've hit it at health too hard. There's room to make it a bit more durable in PvE. Increase the duration of resistance in PvE against all combatants except bosses to 85%, and increase the damage resistance against bosses to 15%. Mana Core, if you guys don't remember, is that void exotic SMG that lets you float in the air of your ADS. Yes, that one that you got from the season and then threw it in your vault. That one. Mana Core is shipped with unique airborne playstyle, but it has several usability issues that we aim to address, including the need for a reliable way to drop out of the air and prevent accidentally activating anti-grav, survivability in PvE, and synergy with builds that utilize void overshields. Mana Core. Players must now be airborne for 0.5 seconds and deal damage with that weapon to activate the perk. This prevents accidental activation while running down the stairs and doing small jumps. Okay. We gave it a special reload to quickly disengage anti-gravity thrusters. Swapping this weapon will continue to disengage as well. Okay. Terrible also receives this special reload animation. While anti-grav thrusters are engaged, combatants will be less accurate when targeting the player, similar to always on-time Sparrow. That could be kind of cool. With the Catalyst, final blows sustain damage with Mana Core, while airborne grant void overshields and return ammo to the magazine. Ooh. That could be kind of cool. X-Dearest, the grenade launcher from delivering on the Boomer 9 Fantasy. Yep, but ultimately it just wasn't hitting hard enough in PvE to be a top tier pick. Fortunately, this is the easy way to address this by bumping the damage and rate of fire. Increase damage impact against PvE combatants by 50%. Detonation damage is unaffected, so the total damage increase works out to around 20% extra damage, varying by target type. And increase the maximum rate of fire by 17%. Great. Heal clip wasn't as valuable to the activating player as we wanted it to be, so we fixed that. Heal Clip now grants cure ×2 to the player while still granting ×1 to nearby allies. Trench Barrel was originally designed in the world where we few ranged melee attacks, and it wasn't desirable to make them even more valuable by allowing them to activate certain perks. That's no longer the case, and we're starting things up. Okay. That was my water bottle popping. If you guys heard that, I'm sorry. Barrel Constrictor. By the way, it's basically saying you can activate Trench Barrel with range attacks. Great. Barrel Constrictor, once activated, no longer deactivates upon firing a shot. It lasts for 7.5 seconds, and it buffs all shots fired during that time. Enhanced Barrel Constrictor now lasts 8.5 seconds. This could be a good trait. Now, my question is it going to be as good as opening shot in a shotgun? I doubt it, but we shall see. Loose Change is a strong in PvE subclass build, but it isn't particularly interesting in PvP. Who told you that Loose Change is strong in PvE? Whoever told you that lied to you. Loose Change applying a subclass 3.0 debuff now grants 20 aim assist stat and 20% ADS movement speed penalty in addition to the existing 50% reload stat. Applying another debuff now refreshes the duration as well. Dual Loader takes up a trait slot, which is sufficient enough to cost that it doesn't need a penalty. The wording also locks the shotguns when there are other continuous reload options in the game that are already load more than one round. Change the wording of the perk description to make it clear that it increases the number of shots reloaded, so it now can apply to the other weapon types without confusion in the future. Got it. Since we're shipping a couple of text mechanical legendary weapons in 7.3.5, we wanted to take another passive text mechanical origin trait, but it wasn't really landing on the hip fire fantasy of the Foundry. With this change, landing damage while firing from the hip will make it easier to land follow-up crits. Okay. Now it grants 20% plus 20 range, plus 1.5 degree hip fire precision cone angle in addition to other effects, making it easier to land follow-up crits with hip fire. That could be kind of juiced. If you guys don't know, I've been trying to get that freaking Spire of the Watcher sidearm for ages with Trap the Trigger kill clip, and I still have not got it. This thing's got even more warning, and I want it bad. I played with it on my friend's account. It's goated on controller. I love that thing. Hockey Breach armaments, Deconstruct, and Sundering felt like they should work against more targets that look like constructs or vehicles. Now it works against Void Souls, Strand Clones, and Cabal projecting shields and bricks. Hockey Breach armaments now does damage bonus versus stasis crystals has been reduced to 85% to 60%. That sucks to match other constructs. Why? Let's read about it. So they say Hockey Breach armaments had one specific edge case that increases the complexity of the perk and is no longer needed, so we're reducing the number of different damage bonuses this perk has. Stupid. Hastening is a fun perk, but weapons that can technically crit but are bad at it suffer from precision kills being the only activator on certain weapon types. Hatchling activate requirements are no longer locked to an archetype in terms of precision or non-precision kills. Instead, the perk will trigger on either precision kill or 3 non-precision kills. Great. Target lock. Immortal, please die. I want this gun dead. I want to take it out and bury it. Please. Target lock now activates later in the magazine for SMGs at 20% instead of 12.5. So the damage buff will swing primary gunfights less often. Mwah. Everybody's off the kill clip now. Envious Assassin's loop works well, but certain weapon types, the payoff was far too great for the amount of effort involved. For example, even with both large buffs to drum grenade launcher reserves, it was possible to shove all your reserves into your magazine, making the perk the best option by far. With this change, it's still very strong, but potential has its limits. I don't know about you guys, but I was always a freaking... I liked Envious Assassin, but if the option to get Reconstruction was on the weapon, I always took Reconstruction over Envious Assassin. Am I weird? Is that just me? Bait and Switch Nerf. Hate to see it. Bait and Switch reduced the damage bonus from 35 to 30%. It's still one of the biggest damage buffs in the game, so that's fine. And to finish the perk section, we're making these 2 additional fixes. 1-2 Punch now correctly deactivates after dealing damage with a powered melee. Deconstruct updated the perk description to correctly state that it pulls ammo from thin air, not reserves. Fix the bug preventing the perk from triggering when shooting an enemy, Titan Barricade, and similar targets. Mods, bonus damage against mini bosses should be part of the boss spec, not major spec. We've updated these mods to correct that. The future, we've pulled a lot of balance changes from the final shape to Destiny 2 into the light update for 7.3.5, but we'll still have a number of small but exciting changes shipping into the light, touching the content many players have not thought about in several years. In the final shape, we're rebalancing many weapon types in PvE, buffing underperforming weapons, and leaving the most high performers untouched. Mwah! Delicious. I'm happy they're doing that. Since we've looked at PvE weapons tuning anyway, over the course of the year, the final shape will be looking at weapon mods that feel mandatory, and we intend to make some changes that will increase your player choice, particularly in PvE. We're also making substantial changes to several of the least used exotics. We see a lot of the requests for these, so if you can guess the exotic we've touched, see if you can guess the exotics we've touched. And adjusting some perks, including the long requested change to chill clip, making it more viable to use on slower firing weapons. Oh, so I'm assuming, well, let me finish this. You can also look forward to being able to enhance many more weapons while we'll be back with more information on the weapon enhancement soon. Okay, so 2 things. I'm assuming that we're finally going to be able to enhance trials weapons. So if you get an adept trials weapons or an adept GM weapons, you can enhance those. Beautiful. Second, I'm assuming the change to chill clip is going to be if you use a slower firing weapon, it would apply more slow stacks, which would be kind of cool. But that sucks for me because I definitely dismantled my reconstruction chill clip. Aura Vandally, that's what it's called. Aura Vandal. Yeah, Aura Vandal. I had a reconstruction chill clip on that thing and I definitely dismantled it because there was no use for it. All right, we have gotten to the PvP section and me skimming through all this and we're still at 30 minutes. I am sorry. Good Lord. We got to read this. Hey folks, the PvP Strike team has a lot to talk about in the coming weeks. In this section, we're covering changes to PvP, specific tunings with weapon types, exotic weapons, abilities, and special ammo regeneration. Note, these changes are not applied to Mayhem, Momentum, and Checkmate. They retain their own custom modifier. Checkmate has been retuned to be more representative of the original intended form, and there will be more info of that in the PvP Strike team next week. Okay. Our base Crucible sandbox currently faces a number of issues. What we'll talk about here today represents a large macro pass designed to begin the address to several of the concerns, and will be followed by additional micro tuning in the future. The symptoms of these issues affect players across the skill spectrum, from 2,000 our veterans to new lights. So it's important that we begin to address them as best we can. Let's identify our goals, what systems are in terms of how our gameplay is affected, and then we can discuss the root causes and corresponding changes. Okay. Goal: help players to more clearly understand the sequence of events that led to their death so they can more easily learn how to improve. 2. Altering the weapon sandbox to account for the increased average skill of our players based by reducing the amount of high reward, low risk options. Encourage the primary weapon mastery to be the aspirational pursuit for players. Good Lord. All right, there's no way I can skim through this. I gotta read the whole thing. Go get some snacks, y'all. As we've increased the prevalence and strength of some sandbox elements, the ability to clearly understand what is happening from target's perspective have suffered. True, it is increasingly common to be defeated instantly or so quickly that there was no time to react, and often so many different things that happen that it's nearly impossible to determine the sequence of events that killed you. When a defeated player has difficulty recognizing and reacting to how they were defeated, it creates a situation to where it feels like there was nothing they could have done, making it hard to learn what to do better next time. It also places a strong focus on being the one to deliver many types of these and unreadable kills as possible, while utilizing build crafting to avoid becoming the recipient. The sandbox elements that do not benefit either of those paths fall out of favor. Additionally, while the average skill of our players has crept up over the years, the weapon sandbox has not grown alongside of it. For example, a much higher percentage of our players can hit the optimal time to kill with SMGs, peek shoot, and with hand cannons, or blint, look it up, with Wish Ender today than they could several years ago. What the hell is blint? Am I stupid? Blinting was a term that started in D1 to refer to a body shot from a sniper followed by a quick switch to a hand cannon for an easy cleanup. Wow. Out of my years of playing this game, never in my life have I heard that word. Anyway, moving forward. In large part, this is because a certain amount of forgiveness was baked into many primary weapons to allow more players to utilize them as their full potential. For example, high reward weapons like precision SMGs and aggressive hand cannons can only requiring 67% critical hits to achieve an optimal TTK, and Wish Ender allowing you to follow up with bow swap Follow up the bow swap with a body shot from a hand cannon. This leniency allows players to make mistakes and still benefit from the full strength of the playstyle. This made sense when the average player's skill was low, but in the current ecosystem, far a larger number of players can take advantage of those benefits. This is manifesting itself in multiple places, but also noticeable in the significant compression of the skill gap at high levels of play. An additional byproduct is to increase the difficulty for new players in finding their footing in the game when many veteran players have a near mastery of these existing playstyles, which increases the friction of refreshing the pool of player in the Crucible. Finally, at high levels of play, things like high body shot damage, generous aim assist, primary weapon flitch, and low critical hit requirements all contribute to the feeling that putting in time to improve your skills with primary weapons is generally not worth the effort. With many meta primary weapons, hitting optimal and near optimal time to kill is less representative of mastery of the weapon and is instead merely an expectation of standard play. Similarly, at lower levels of play, players can still lose relatively quickly to an inaccurate opponent, which minimizes the time they have to figure out the sandbox and learn, often making them feel like they were playing higher skilled players than they really are. These symptoms are all generated by a handful of root causes, each generally linked to the others in a circle of balance that encourages us to touch all of them at once if we're making big changes, or in similar increments if we're just modifying things individually. We have certain ability builds with either higher uptime or higher potency than we believe is healthy. To help to keep these builds in check, we've provided a near constant availability of special ammo, which means there's also a surplus of one-shot kill weapons on the field. And to keep primary weapons competitive, we made primary weapons highly lethal, fast killing, and in general also very forgiving. All that leads to a high percentage of deaths in our fan sandboxes from the target's perspective, and it feels like there was nothing they could have done differently. Simply put, we have a risk-reward problem. Over time, we've pushed our sandbox elements to have higher rewards without offsetting them and the risk of punishing suboptimal play. Some elements take it a step further. Instead of just rewarding the attacker, they punish the target, i.e. explosive payload hand cannons, flinch, and wish under true sight. To begin to address these issues, the following changes have been applied to Crucible, starting with the 7.3.5 update on March 5th. We have two goals with the following increases to player health. It gives us a far more granularity, you know what I said, to balance our current future sandbox elements and lets us decrease the relative lethality of multiple sandbox elements, i.e. grenade and body shot damage, all at once and universally. Player health will be increased by 30 HP in the Crucible, so players have a maximum of 100 health, up from 70 and 116 and 130 shields, depending on your resilience. Depending on the player's resilience values, like I just said. Ability cooldowns. These values combined with the changes to the mod economy earlier this season will move it to a place where the ability uptime is healthier for the Crucible. Melee, grenade, and class ability cooldowns have now had a 15% penalty applied to them only in the Crucible. Super cooldowns now have a 20% penalty applied to them only in the Crucible. Now, I would say this is great. It's going to change the way people, like what super people pick. But that would be wrong because it's the 20% penalty to all supers. So, do I understand that we're going to be seeing a little bit of less well and bubble? Yes, but that also means the people that don't use those supers, i.e. me, who loves hammers in PvP, is even more used to saying, well, I might as well go to bubble because now my super already takes extremely long to charge and is going to take even longer now. Yes, this does nerf well and bubble spam in trials, but it nerfs the super as well, therefore pushing people off those supers who are going to go to the next best thing, bubble, and well. So, that sucks. In my opinion, I think that's what this will do. So, we'll see. Ability damage. To account for the increased player health and reduced uptime, we've made some general changes to melee and super damage and one grenade. Make sure that we maintain the moment-to-moment muscle memory to retain our current general rules of most super killing in 1 shots, most melees killing in 2. Super increased base damage by 31%, melee increased melee damage by 16%, grenades increased arc flux damage by 16%, so arc flux grenade can still 1-shot. Got it. To maintain the same optimal time to kill rates at the current sandbox with new HP values in the 2, and to place an increased emphasis on precision, all primary weapons except bows will have their critical damage increased, while we'll also reduce the flinch dealt by hand cannons, as they were a consistent outlier, even compared to the high damage primary weapons like scout rifle and bows. Pulse rifles, auto rifles, sidearms, and scout rifles have an increased critical hit damage by 14%. Hand cannons increase critical damage by 10%, reduce body shot damage by 5%, and reduce the flinch dealt to players by projectile impact by 12.5% and by explosive payload by 10%. Okay. Submachine guns, critical hit damage increased by 12.5% and reduced the body damage by 3%. And in bows, the base damage has been reduced by 15%. Special ammo acquisition. After a lengthy test period in Crucible Labs, we are ready to move the special ammo meter into their wider Crucible. We have made several changes between the initial version and this one, so here are the details on how it looks and how it will work now. You'll start every game, all game types, including round-based mode like Dominion, with 2 kills worth of special ammo for your chosen weapon. Instead of 2 kills worth of special ammo being granted every time you respawn, you'll earn more ammo by filling up the special ammo meter with points given by getting kills, assists, or completing objectives. Getting 100 points grants you 2 kills worth of special ammo for your weapon that you chose. Base point values: kills are 23, assists are 23. Kills are 23, assists are 10, deaths are 10, control zone capture 14, heavy ammo pools are 8. Elimination and Dominion values: kills are 38%, assists are 16%, deaths are 16%, pulling heavy ammo is 10%. 3v3 respawn mode: survival, 3v3 crash, and countdown rush. Kills 26 points, assists 12 points, and deaths 11 points. Rumble every kills is 30 points. Countdown, charge armed is 20 points, charge defused is 40 points, charge detonated is 70 points. General notes: kills from special ammo and heavy ammo weapons do not grant any points towards special ammo meter progress. Jumping off the map will subtract progress from the special ammo meter. Ammo is not dropped on death, and you will not lose any special ammo you have earned when you are defeated or revived. Earned special ammo will carry over between rounds. Swapping from double primary to special ammo will reset your special ammo meter progress. Special weapon archetype. To offset the increased health and partially make up for the reduced uptime, we've increased the base damage of several special ammo weapons. Trace rifles, shotguns, and future rifles have increased base damage by 20%, and glaives increased projectile damage by 20% and increased melee damage by 16%. Woo! Goodness. We got even more to read, y'all. We almost at the end. Heavy ammo grenade launchers have been the meta pick in PvP for a long time, and we wanted to make sure that they did not get any better with the PvE changes outlined above. In fact, due to the increased health, it will be a little bit more difficult for them to kill high resilience guardians with the use of proximity grenades. Machine guns have been along in the shadow of the other heavy weapons, so we wanted to give them a little boost as well. Reduce detonation damage by 5%. Machine guns get 20% damage as well. I'm assuming this is only in PvP, so if it's in PvE too, cash. But who knows? Commemoration gang rise up. Some exotic weapons partially bypass the special ammo economy changes in a world with reduced breech loaded grenade launchers, and in a world with reduced breech loaded grenade launchers and fusion rifles, these quickly rose to the top of annoyances. Crimsons, like other hand cannons, have been dealing extreme amounts of flinch to other players, and this has been exacerbated by the fact that it fires in a burst. It has been custom tuned to deal slightly less flinch damage than other hand cannons. There's also a couple of exotic weapons that felt they deserved to become up a bit, so they were not punished by these changes. Fighting Lion, decreased damage versus players in Crucible only by 20%. Okay. Dove's Ruin, decreased charged beam damage against players by 15%. Now I'm interested in if it can still one-shot body shot or it has to be a critical kill. Crimson, reduced flinch dealt to players projectile by 0.17.5. Okay. Forerunner, increased damage versus players by 20% in the Crucible only. I don't think it'll one-shot, but I think now with a damage buff, it definitely will two-shot. So that's fine. I think it takes 3 headshots to down. So with a damage bonus, it'll 100% take 2 now. Symmetry. Lord, I haven't heard that name in a long time. Increase the revolution damages versus players in Crucible by 16%. Whew, that was a lot to cover. Dang right. There are even more changes coming in PvP from the PvP Strike team next week, including info on new rewards, game modes, matchmaking details, spawning tuning changes, and trials updates, and more. Good Lord, I'm speeding through this. If you guys don't know, February 10th marks the start of a new lunar new year. Here's the code. Put this code in for this emblem. For now, more Eververse stuff. The next trials map is Dead Cliffs. Thank God. If you guys have not been logging in every weekly reset from now until the final shape, gives you, I believe, around 800 bright dust. I can't remember more. Log in every week at reset. Get your bright dust. I think it adds up to around 9,000 bright dust at the end of the final shape. Go get it. If you like to fashion like me. Moving forward, repeating myself, I'm sorry. If you have not claimed if you have, no DLCs in Destiny and you want to get into Destiny, or you're missing some DLCs, depending on how many you're missing, this is a great deal. I put it in the beginning and put it at the end as well. $40 for every piece of DLC in the game. Go get it. It's on Humble Bundle. And that's about it. Lord have mercy. I appreciate all of you guys so much for sticking to the end of this video. Hope you guys got you some snacks, got you something to drink, because my mouth is dry. Please hand me some. Please. Thank you. All right. Have a good one. Stay safe. And remember, stay spooky. Peace.